Well, hello, I'm your host, James Jackson. This is Real People, Real Voices.
And I'm Pastor Wayne Moore, the co-host.
Always glad to host with you.
Yes, it is, my friend.
And it's going to be a great show today.
Yeah, we have a great young man with us today. Through many dangerous scenes and toils and snares that he's have already come from.
Yeah.
And we're happy to have him today.
Mr. Keith Graham.
Yes.
Talk about some transitional things and some other things that he's involved in that helps to improve the quality of life for folks who live in the city.
Yes, not only that, I'm excited to hear his testimony about how God has transitioned his life and then transitioned him to the place to where he's helping others. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and then in our second segment, we have some folks coming in to talk about a new water treatment program to help folks in places that might not have quality drinking water.
Right. Brother Coleman, I believe, is going to come and talk about some things that's going to help us. We got a great show here today.
And Brother David.
Yes.
So stay with us. You don't want to miss this great show on today. Also, I want to encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, WHMB TV 40 on YouTube, and subscribe. Also, go to our Facebook page and like us on Facebook. Please be sure to tell your family and friends to tune in on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. and on Wednesday nights at 11 o'clock p.m. for a great show every time.
Yeah, it happens here on Real People, Real Voices every time. You can turn the TV on, WHMB TV, Channel 40.
Absolutely. So don't go anywhere. Get a glass of water, a cup of coffee. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
Co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
I want to welcome to the program Mr. Keith Graham.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for coming.
Brother Graham.
Thank you.
You've got a great story. You're Chief Operations Officer for Simply Divine Transitional.
That is correct.
How did Simply Divine Transitional come about?
Well, it came about through my own personal experience of being addicted to drugs, being homeless, being incarcerated. Some of the horrific experiences that I had whenever I was released or tried to seek help for some of the issues I was dealing with. So,
and a lot of people don't know about those struggles. So what were some of the biggest struggles that you experienced when you were in that position?
Well, the biggest struggle that I had, I would say in active addiction, was learning how to stop. One thing that I had an issue with was finding safe, drug-free housing. Most times when I would get out of a treatment center or a program, I went right back to the same neighborhood in which I struggled with my addiction. Had I had a safe place to go, I probably would have got cleaner a lot sooner than I did.
Wow,
that's dynamic.
Yeah.
I was told by a friend of mine who is into addiction counseling, who works for Eskenazi, Ryan Martin. He says we ought never be upset when a person constantly has to go back into rehab, because at that one time, it just might take. Did you experience that?
Absolutely. I often ask people in our program, tell me how many times did I relapse? And I know they don't know. And they say, I don't know, and I say, me either. But one thing that I'm so grateful for is that people never gave up on me, you know. I came back, I couldn't tell you how many times I tried to get clean and failed. But each time I learned a little more. You know, so the seed got planted and it took some time to grow. So we often tell people there are no failures in our program. You know, if they come in, we'll plant the seed. It's not always God's will for us to water the seed and watch it grow. Sometimes it's just our purpose to plant the seed. Yeah.
So tell us about some of the highlights of your program.
Yeah, absolutely. We have employment resources. We have a work therapy program that we recently got up and going. I think we have about 10 of our clients working at Country Kitchen right now.
10?
Yes.
Wow.
We have probably about 10 of our clients working at Ultra Elite, which is a general contractor. So they're getting on-the-job training and getting paid.
And remaining clean.
That's right.
That's phenomenal.
That's right. That's right. Also, Martin University, we've partnered with them with their careers program. So we have about 4 or 5 interns working with us through Martin University. And then we've also been able to get about 6 of our clients enrolled at Martin University for either GED or college education.
Education and employment.
Absolutely.
After coming off of a bad situation, that's phenomenal.
Yes,
you need
sir.
to be commended for that.
Thank you.
So you talk about work therapy. I've heard work readiness. I've heard work training. I don't think I've heard the terminology work therapy.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Well, we call it work therapy. A lot of the guys, when they come home or they get out of an addictive situation, people always say, let's get them, a place to live. But we looked at it from a different angle. We say, let's get them a place to live, but also teach them how to keep it, which has been a big issue. You can give a person a place to live, but if they don't understand, life functions to keeping the place, then we have this revolving door. So what we do is we get them on the job training. They do get a stipend as they learn the skills in the trade. And at some point, we'll get them a full-time position if they become, skillful in that area. We'll get them a full-time position.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think this is very important because as the current climate exists today, as it relates to health care,
Yes.
does your program depend a whole lot on the healthcare system?
We do. That is a portion of our programming is built around insurance. Individuals whose insurance pays for them to be in our program. We also DMHA accredited, which is through Department of Mental Health and Addictions. So we are accredited through the state of Indiana, and we are also an approved Recovery Works provider, which is a new program designed to give people who deal with substance abuse issues and have a felony conviction. They're eligible for this program, and the state will fund their stay with us as well.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's outstanding. You also into Reentry. We know there are thousands of folks that come back into the community
Yes, sir.
after having been incarcerated. And you've indicated that was something that you experienced.
Oh, yeah.
So take us into the mind of a person who
Has to experience reentry.
Oh, I would love to. I'll tell you a story if that's okay.
That's fine.
One time I had come home from prison, and I pretty much made up my mind that I wanted to change my life and do right. And I remember obtaining gainful employment as a forklift driver. And I worked for 89 days and made it on time, was determined. I'm gonna make it on time, I'm gonna go every day. I wanna take care of myself and my family. And I remember on the 90th day, they called me into the office and said, well, we have to let you go.
Wow.
And I was like, but why? I've been here every day and I've been here on time. And they told me because of my felony record that they had to let me go. And that actually happened a couple of times to me.
But you did inform them about your felony.
Yeah,
Oh, my
absolutely,
God.
absolutely. And it was through a temp agency. But whenever they go to hire you in to that company, they do another background check. And so I remember driving home after one of these times feeling real, my pride is to the ground, my ego's to the ground. And it's like, and I remember telling myself, never again will I allow another man to pull the strings in my life to determine whether I feed my babies. And that's when this process started.
Everything changed for you.
Everything changed from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you seeing similar stories with the folks that come to your program?
Absolutely. I tell you, it's priceless to watch a person, an individual, come in hopeless with, just no hope of ever getting better, of ever stop using drugs or, getting their lives together, and then to watch that transition. And then I still got people today that are still clean and come back and, want to do service work with our program. And so it's priceless to see that process happen. Yeah.
We're going to be praying for you, brother. We need
Thank
more
you.
brothers like you in the community.
Thank you.
Especially here in central Indiana, because we do have some drug issues in our city.
Yeah, not only in our city, but nationwide right now. I'm certain if you watch the news or for any length of time, you can see that there's really an epidemic going on right now in our country.
Yeah.
Well, all the best, Keith, to you and the program and what you're endeavoring to do. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And stay with us. Stay with us. We have much more to come here on Real People, Real Voices. Don't go away. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
And we're joined by Phil Coleman and David Scott. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us about Aquanet.
Okay, the Aquanet is actually the brand distributed by and manufactured through Water for the Village. And what we do is take that unit and distribute it across the world to deal with individuals and villages that don't have access to clean water.
Wow.
And that's a global problem.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. There's 1.2 billion people today that don't have access to clean water, and another 1.8 billion people that don't have access to
You
clean
said
water.
million?
Billion.
Billion.
Billions.
Okay.
Pretty significant. And another 1.2 that don't have access to electricity. And we actually deal with both of those issues, but we're here with the Aquanet today.
And so how did you all come up with the idea for the device that we have here today?
Well, it's actually a labor of love. I'm actually an electrical design engineer and professional drag racer on the NHRA circuit. And one day my wife and I, we were looking at CNN, and they had a show called Planet in Peril, and it showed this water buffalo drinking water next to these little children. And we've all seen that before, but for some reason it really impacted me. And so we were told that, hey, well, you're an engineer, why don't you do something about that? So within our shop, we started kind of tinkering around and came up with a design, and the rest is history. So it's actually started as a labor of love, but it's now turned into a very significant business. But we're still, Dave and I, we're actually still part of trying to deal with the water solution across the country.
Phenomenal. What type of work are you doing, if you are doing it, in Haiti?
We're not in Haiti yet. We've been talking to some delegations. Right now, we're in Ghana, Zambia, Tanzania, and Dave can talk about where we're very excited about what we're embarking on now in Peru.
All right, so Dave, talk to us about efforts in Peru.
Yes, the global water crisis is at such a high level that it's drawing a global community together. If we all are suffering from some of the same issues, then it causes us to begin to relate to each other a lot better. And so I was able to connect with a lady from Peru at a function here in the city, and just inside of a couple minutes I found out that they had a real issue in her country. And when I gave her a card, I began to see her tear up, and I'm like, what's going on? And she said, we need equipment to help our people. And so we began to look at their situation and begin to address those things, and had some significant meetings with them. Within a couple months, their rainy season began. And within the first couple weeks of the rainy season, there were over 200 bridges destroyed and airports were flooded. And we know what happens when that comes up. It causes there to be such a breakdown in the infrastructure of the cities that food and supplies can't get in and get out without helicopter help. So we've been able to be right there at the infancy of their response to this crisis. And they've connected us with their very elite governmental leaders. And we just met with one here recently, looking at our equipment and how that can bring relief to the real crisis that they're embarking upon.
That's phenomenal.
So tell us how the PDS technology changes options.
Changes options. PDS basically stands for Practical Digital Solutions. And as the name implies, we come up with various technical solutions to address various problems. In fact, the problem that was going on during Katrina, if they had our equipment then, we would have been able to save thousands of lives.
Wow.
Simply because there were a lot of people that were drinking water literally off the street.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so our device, we can actually take water from a pond or a lake or a surface water. We run it through the Aquanet, and it actually goes through a purification process. I'm not going to get into how it does what it does, but
it produces.
It produces. I mean, there's a lot of technology in it. Primarily, what it does is just bombard the molecular structure and changes the DNA. That's as complicated I'm going to get right now. But what it does, it actually takes water in, dirty water in, it goes through the neutralization process, and on the other end of it,
It's clean water.
it's clean water.
Wow.
And
Got a question though, Brother Coleman.
yes, sir.
To see how you're reaching out to global in a global way, how is it being received in your country where you live as it relates to disasters?
You're going to put him on the spot like that.
Well, I mean,
Well, I'll answer the
sometimes
question.
prophets are not honored in their own hometown.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting. I'm originally from Indianapolis,
Right.
but I've been in Detroit for a lot of years, and the technology we have is state-of-the-art technology. In fact, not to toot our horns, but it's the gold standard in technologies. And right in our own backyard, Flint, Michigan, there's a major crisis going on
Well, that's why I wanted you to go there. That was my next question.
Okay. Well, we're actually involved. I'm not really going to talk about the political things.
I understand.
The technical solution is there. You can liken it to the bionic man who talks about we have the technology.
Yeah.
Well, we have that technology, but it's kind of a Republican versus Democrat thing, but the technology to solve that problem.
You have it.
We have it. We have it today.
Aquanet has it.
Aquanet has it for sure. And I want to talk about that Katrina and the Sandy thing too, because when the lights went out, electricity went out, so goes the pumps for the water. So as you know, when there's crime, crime is due to the absence of light, and things happen in the dark. And so we could have brought in our solar lighting system that could have helped with that particular problem, as well as, the Aquanet. So we could have solved two problems. Along with that, the reason why we're kind of excited about being here, because as a businessman first, I'm really excited about crime, reducing crime. Here in the Indianapolis market, there's a crime problem. I think the crime problem might be higher than we talk about this all the time. I'm gonna get out of Indianapolis and go back to Detroit where it's safe. but we know for a fact with jobs, the crime rate's going to go down. It's going to be inversely proportional to the technology and jobs. If people have jobs, so goes the crime. It goes down. And so we want to bring and offer and train individuals within Indianapolis to bring about those changes through employment and training. We're currently looking and working with Volunteers of America and some other local outreach organizations.
How's the Red Cross treating you?
Well, we're working with FEMA.
Yeah, good.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, okay.
And the reason why, again, that we're excited, because this technology is bringing those jobs to this market. And actually, globally, we've actually showed President Trump how we can create this. This number sounds crazy to you, but it's a fact. Doing what we're doing, we can actually bring about the creation of 10,000 jobs. And one day we can kind of talk about how we can do that. So we're waiting on a response back.
We're praying for you, man.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal.
Yeah. And the device we see here, can this be scaled up?
Well, because of space limitations, we actually have another unit that we brought with us, but it certainly can. That unit right there can, wherever it is, it can actually service 250 people a day. But we have another unit, the commercial sanitation grade. They're all sanitation grade, but the larger one.
250 people.
Yeah, but the larger one can do 5,000 a day. But it is the same technology. It's UV technology. So, so some of the villages that we go to, for example, in Zambia, this is going to sound crazy to you, but the life expectancy in Zambia in certain villages is 37 years old.
Wow.
You know,
Due to water.
Due to waterborne pathogens, E. coli, diphtheria, all those types of things. So, and it's what I'm really kind of proud of is because God has given me some talents to effect change, and so some of the villages in the Zambian area, we've actually increased the life expectancy by using the Aquanet.
Wow.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
My God, that's
Well,
phenomenal.
all the best to you and Aquanet and all that you all do. And thank you for taking out the time to come and share with us today.
Okay, thank you.
Both of you. Thank you.
Okay.
Stay tuned. We're going to be back with the rundown. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm your executive producer, Faith McKinney.
And Real People, Real Voices is sponsored in part by attorney Nathaniel Lee and Fairman. Check them out. They can help you out. And also, Fervent Care, Child Care and Christian Academy at 1052 East 38th Street. So, purifying water.
Phenomenal. Isn't it strange how we have answers to our solutions right under our noses and we will not recognize them?
Yeah.
That was it was good to know what he was talking about, but at the same time, it was a travesty in understanding that he's not being utilized properly, especially in Detroit, in the Michigan area.
Absolutely. One of the things that struck me when I learned about it is that 3,000 gallons per day can be purified. 3,000 gallons of water per day can be purified for, say, a village. And this is a freestanding machine, and it's not, it doesn't cover very much square footage at all. It's solar powered, and it's a standalone.
Brilliant.
And it's totally portable.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we have billions who are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times you have governments, whether local, state, or federal governments, that impede the progress of these kind of technologies.
Yeah, just like when we look at things going on today in our country, we find out that it's all about red tape and bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And we can't get things done that way because we're so concerned, as you said during the break, about who's going to get the credit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that would give you major political capital.
Yeah.
If you could present that as your own, or if you were promoting it. However, the needs of the people certainly
are
greater.
supersede
that.
your political ambition.
Yeah.
And I was always taught if you take care of the people, eventually they're going to take care of you.
Yeah. And we want to thank you for taking care of us by watching us at 5:30 every Sunday, 11 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday nights. Please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, and we'll see you right here again next week.